Yeah, that makes sense. So you've moved into, helping men out with their problems as well. What are some of the common issues that men are coming to you for, and how are you handling them?
Well, so the thing about it is that it's funny that the reason that all right, here's what we know about men, and you know this. Me and you are both men. It's hard to get men to go to a doctor in the first place, right? So when
Right.
I speak of, most of the physicians that I know, all across the board, they would tell you that their practice is predominantly women anyway. Now, unless they're dealing with, just a men's clinic, or you know, it's just typical urology or something like that, that might be a little bit more male dominant. The truth of the matter is that, most doctors probably see 70, 80% females. And the reason for that is that females are more proactive about their health care. Good thing. We need to get more men that way. Men are like, I'm not going anywhere until it's totally broken, and I really don't want to go there anyway. So, but now that's shifting a little bit. Men are getting a little bit more proactive. A lot of times it's because of their wife, driving this. But so the women, the men that I'm seeing now are, they're interested in getting an advantage to, I think all this goes back around to that people know that they're living longer and have a potential to live a lot longer, and they're looking at the quality of that life. And so I see a lot of men now who come in because, hey, you know what, I'm 40 to 50 to 60, and there's a good chance I'm going to live into my 80s or early 90s. And,
Right.
If that's going to be the case, what is, I want things to be, more advantageous. I want to balance out what I need to, what's deficient. I want to get that edge, right? So now I get to have that conversation with men of, what, you're in the same place too, where you're just not going to just, completely be able to get away with eating whatever you want to. If you want that edge, if you want to be leaner, stronger, more fit, warding off inflammation, maybe protecting yourself from problems like Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, or whatnot, then you know what? We got to look at these same issues. We got to look at balancing out insulin and blood glucose. We got to look at putting you into a better hormonal state, make sure that your testosterone levels are not falling too far down, addressing nutritional deficiencies or whatnot. So we're getting certainly much more of an advantage to talk to men now than in the recent past. It's coming around.
So your practice has evolved, from just a typical doctor into now you're doing a lot more telemedicine. What was that like, and what have you seen as since you've made that transition in your practice?
I've seen it's a ongoing growing prospect or process that I am so unbelievably engaged in. I did not know what this was going to be like, and yet it has fulfilled my wildest dreams. It is the ability, because again, I think that I don't know that every doctor has this advantage. They could and they will, but when you get to the point where you've done this as long as I have, you get the ability that I think again, let me circle back around and say what I think that the limiting factor to what we're talking about right now has been up until the recent past is that how do you go about doing all of the the testing and all this kind of stuff that we may need, and that is something that I'm still working myself through. But here's the advantage I have. I have the advantage that typically in the online world of doing a Skype or a Zoom or even a phone consultation with somebody thousands of miles away, I have the ability of enough of a reference that most of the time this is not about where we need to start is to go out and run a huge battery of tests. These are people that are contacting me are typically women who are going through a a phase and have been stunted on the weight loss that they want, can't figure that out, or have a few guiding symptoms for me that make so much sense to me about where their hormones are a little bit need to be shifted in one direction or another, that it's not, I don't spend a lot of my time talking about, okay, let's go out and run a bunch of lab work. What I talk about is give me some time with you to get to know each other, and let me build out, based on everything you're telling me and your experience and my experience and knowledge, to be able to create a plan for you, let's say Miss Jones, of, okay, here's where we're stumped. Here's what, where you want your goals to be. Here are the guiding things that you're telling me about. And then I'm able to sit down and build out okay, what needs to be shifted here is a refinement or some specifics around a low carb or ketogenic diet for this particular case in metabolism. Here are some particular recommendations I want to make about to shift some biochemistry in this direction, maybe, again, clearing out estrogen dominance, supporting a little bit better progesterone. So it's allowed me to be able to work with people anywhere and give them a specific approach. And I think that's what's missing a lot of time in the community that I work with out there in social media, Twitter or whatnot, is there's a lot of this one size should fit all, and where it's not working out that way, where two people are following the exact same diet. And one of them is, lost 30 pounds in 60 or 75 days, and the other one has lost 4 pounds. And, the ability to be able to use some of my expertise and go, all right, I can probably pick up why that is, what's different about these two metabolisms and where this emphasis needs to be shifted to. So pretty exciting. And I think this is going to be a way for a lot of people to be able to reach out and get some guidance from people, and know that they can do that from anywhere now. They in the comfort of their own living room, and jump on and get some some correct advice about how to do this for themselves.
So I would imagine that there are advantages and disadvantages to this. I think the most obvious advantage, you can talk to anyone anywhere, but it occurs to me that one disadvantage would be, I've never been to a doctor that they didn't look with a light in my ear, up my nose, down my throat. They want to do prostate exams, and they want, there's touchy-feely hands-on things that a doctor wants to do. How are you feeling that gap?
Well, the way that I fill that gap, and again, that's something that I was probably in the beginning of getting involved in this. I had to go through that in my own mind. What I found was that again, the whole world is becoming so networked through the internet that in those cases, it's usually not difficult for me at all to partner with a primary care physician in their area, where when I need to say that, listen, in your case, there's more I need from you than what I can do over the internet, like the touchy-feely stuff that you're talking about, that it's not as hard as I thought to be able to link that relationship with somebody in, close to them, and say, listen, we need, I need this done. We'll get you in touch with somebody in your area who is on board here, who can do either a physical examination and also on the other side of that, we talked about a little bit like lab work or whatnot. It is very easy for me now to, by simple with a fax machine, to send a lab requisition to any lab all over the country and sometimes out of the country, and say, here's what I want run. That information will be shot back to me through, via, again, internet, email, whatnot. So it's proving to be a viable model. And again, we have to look at our limitations. This won't be for everybody. If somebody, again, here, we know where the big limits would be is, I'm no good to anybody who's dealing with a crisis, acute situation that you need to go to the emergency room for. You don't want, you don't want to be dialing me up on Skype, right?
Right.
Or you can, but what I'm going to tell you is you need to get to, your local emergency room or urgent care facility as soon as possible. So we're working our way through this, but we understand where the limitations are. But again, the majority of my work nowadays is in it's not in the acute world anymore. It's in the people dealing with chronic degenerative issues that have not found the results they're looking for in the conventional model of things, and allowing me to be able to kind of piece together behind the scenes a little different approach to that and say, let's look at it this way. Let's include diet, what we know in the field of natural medicine, maybe some nutritional supplementation, and maybe even, pharmacology plays a role in that sometimes. But anyway, I think we'll figure this out, but it's going pretty good for right now.
Yeah, and because it's always seemed to me that modern medicine is really good at dealing with acute issues, and then
better than anybody.
Yeah, and then you give them a chronic issue, and they don't seem to know how to handle it. They don't know what to do with type 2 diabetes. They don't know what to do with, cancer and arthritis. A lot of these things, and that they just aren't as good as you would hope that they would be.
Sure.
And so I think that's how the niche that services like yours are going to be able to fill and be able to do some really good work in the field of medicine. So I'm excited to see this grow and more people do what you do. It's cool to see. I think you're on the cutting edge of something here. So Dr. Wrigley, if my listeners would like to find out more about you, what you're all about, follow you, maybe book an appointment, all that good stuff, how can they do all that?
Yeah, a couple of different ways. My biggest, you would know this, my biggest influence right now in the social media world is certainly to, look me up on Twitter at KetoDocCLT. That's for Charlotte, but at KetoDocCLT is I have a pretty big following going on there. You can also find me at the same address on both Instagram and Facebook. Haven't spent a lot of time building that out yet. My website is simply drwrigley.com. So it's just drwrigley.com. That's my website that links you to my physician's practice in Charlotte, and has more information about what I do or whatnot. And but I'm easy to find in those spheres, and again, you can reach out to any of those. My email address is simply docwrigley, DOCWRIGLEY @gmail.com. So in any of those ways, you can link up to me or seek me out privately or send me a DM on Twitter or whatnot and say, I'd be interested in setting up a consultation with you, or just follow along to what it is that I put out there. To you'll get a feel for my philosophy of this, and the people that the other brilliant doctors that I engage with there. We all have a common purpose, and that is to reestablish metabolic health and hormonal balancing and stuff like that. So, thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, thank you. And guys, we're going to put links to all of that in the show notes. You can find that at mysugarfreejourney.com/podcast. Dr. Wrigley, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Enjoyed it. Thank you so much. We'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Hold on. We'll be right back with some more information.